Tavistock Institute. Top secret brainwashing think tank. Tavistock Institute was established to wage psychological warfare on the masses. That's you and me and your children and your friends and your family. It was founded by John Rawlings Rees in 1947, 2 days after the birth of the CIA. Tavistock has reshaped modern society through an invisible army of shock troops. Virtually every major corporation, university and think tank are linked to Tavistock. Many social movements of the last century have been Tavistock projects, including feminism, transgenderism, global warming hysteria, the anti-gun movement, the radical left, wing ideas, even more. They invented the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, rap and hip-hop music. Most Americans have been profiled and brainwashed by Tavistock. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergence caused by the agitator agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. The Second World War must be formulated by taking advantage of the differences between the fascist and the political Zionist. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time where we would need it for the final social cataclysm. The Third World War must be formulated by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agitator of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on the issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery and the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude delusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an idea but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. The manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Albert Pike, August 15th, 1871. They've been doing this and planning this for hundreds of years. Now, I'm sure you've all seen this photo. Grand Lodge of Freemasons. And there's China, Russia, America. Bush, Putin and China's president photo taken at a secret Grand Lodge meeting. They are all in the same club, answering to the same Lord, pretending that they are enemies because that keeps them in power, so they can introduce even tighter draconian measures in each of their respective countries to keep the swill down and ensure their breed stays on top. If my sons did not want war, there would be none. One of the mothers of one of the Rothschild scumbags. If we make guns illegal, no one will ever get shot. That's how we stopped everyone from doing drugs. When did we allow people in this country to be hungry? When was food poverty okay? When did food banks become a fixed feature in society? When the bloody hell did we all allow this to happen? When was genocide of the poor acceptable? When did we stop caring? First day of med school. A patient cured is a customer lost. US patent 6506148B2 confirms human nervous system manipulated through computer and TV. It's hard to find any information at all on a one Hendrik G. Lewis, despite the fact that he's filed multiple patent applications with success for apparatus that deal with the manipulation of the human nervous system via a computer screen or a television monitor. In the abstract, he explains the following. Psychological effects have been observed in a human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near half hertz or 2.4 hertz, such as to excite a sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes, when displaying pulse images, emit pulsed electromagnetic fields on sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitation. Links in the description if you want to read the rest of that. I suggest you do. Photos. Since Standing Rock, 56 bills have been introduced in 30 states to restrict protests. In the year since the last activists were evicted, the crackdown on journalists and activists has only intensified. On February 23rd of last year, a day when the frozen ground had started to turn to mud, law enforcement officers rolled into the Osseti Sakowin camp near the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North Dakota. Donald Trump had been inaugurated a month earlier, and the new president quickly reversed an Obama administration decision to deny Energy Transfer Partners a permit to finish construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline, a $3.78 billion project running directly under the Missouri River. The water protectors, as protesters called themselves, had been fighting the pipeline since the spring of 2016, concerned that the proposed route cut through ancestral land and of spiritual significance, and that a pipeline leak could contaminate the primary water supply to the reservation. The small group who remained through the bitter winter at Osseti Sakowin had been ordered to leave by February 22nd or face eviction and arrest. Most did. A few dozen remained the following day when Humvees with snipers on their roofs rolled into camp, a helicopter buzzing above them. Law changed so nuclear waste dumps can be forced on local communities. Legislation rushed through in the final hours of Parliament allows local planning laws to be bypassed, seriously alarming anti-nuclear campaigners. Nuclear waste dumps can be imposed on local communities without their support under a new law rushed through in the final hours of Parliament. Under the latest rules, the long search for a place to store Britain's stockpile of 50 years worth of most radioactive waste from power stations, weapons and medical use can be ended by passing local planning. Since last week, the sites are now officially considered nationally significant infrastructure projects, and so will be chosen by the Secretary of State for Energy. They're basically pouring nuclear waste, or going to pour nuclear waste anywhere they like, because this is an attempt to depopulate the planet and screw the planet, because that's what they're trying to do. They work on the premise that if we can't have it as the all-being masters, then we'll destroy it. Health. Luxembourg to be first European country to legalise cannabis. Health Minister confirms plans and calls on neighbouring countries to relax their laws. Luxembourg has control called on its EU neighbours to relax their drug law as its health minister confirmed plans to become the first European country to legalise cannabis production and consumption. This drug policy we have had over the last 50 years did not work, Etienne Snyder told Politico. Forbidding everything made is just more interesting to young people. I'm hoping all of us will get a more open-minded attitude towards drugs, except cannabis isn't a drug. It has effects similar to drugs, but it's not a drug, it's a natural plant. And it can't be, they can't register it so that they can make millions off it, so that's why they made it the way they did. American who survived Brussels, Paris and Boston terror says he's lucky. A 19-year-old Mormon missionary emerged unscathed from a Boston Marathon bombing and Paris attacks, but wasn't as lucky in Brussels, where he suffered severe burns and other injuries. The Utah teen, Mason Wells, was standing at a Delta check-in counter on Tuesday when the first blast went off just feet away, he told CNN. My body was actually picked up off the ground for a moment. He said, my left shoe was blown off, Freemasonry, and a large part of the right side of my body got really hot and then really cold, and I was covered in a lot of blood that wasn't mine. Well's first brush with terror occurred 3 years ago to the finish line of the Boston Marathon, where two bombs killed 2 people and injured more than 250. Yeah, that was a false flag. We know about that. On November 19th, he was in France, but not in Paris, with ISIS jihadists went on a rampage, killing 130 people and wounding hundreds. That, of course, was another false flag. Christian death toll rises to 200 in 4 days. Muslim killing spree in Nigeria. The death toll of last week's massacre of Nigerian Christians by militant Muslim Fulani herdsmen has risen to at least 200, according to a report released Friday by Open Doors, an organisation that monitors Christian persecution. As Bertie News reported earlier this week, heavily armed gunmen recognised as Fulani herdsmen opened fire on Christians in a number of villages in Plateau State of central Nigeria last weekend, killing scores and injuring hundreds more, as well as burning some 50 homes to the ground. Most of the victims were returning home from the funeral of the father of a local Christian minister. Despite the evidentially religious nature of the slaughter, mainstream media chose to downplay the militant Islam behind the attack, preferring to attribute the violence to ethnic tensions, a battle for land and resources, or even climate change. Man arrested for going back in and saving his dog from their burning home. It may sound incredible, but a man was arrested for going back into his burning home in West Memphis to retrieve and save his dog from the house fire. The reason for the arrest claims that he put himself and others, including the firefighters, in more danger. Understandably, yet it's hard to blame him. On the other hand, the reason that pushed him to go inside was because he felt so helpless just watching there without doing anything. Jared Martin was arrested for 2 misdemeanors, disorderly conduct and reckless endangerment. Serious corruption has happened in our justice system, and the penalties could stand to be harsher. Bribery strikes at the heart of the UK justice. It is pernicious, the slightest hint that it's acceptable, and it will only grow. Pacing the corridors of Southwark Crown Court one day, waiting for a trial to resume, I came across an extraordinary sight at the end of a corridor where as many as 100 people chattering, bickering, jostling and for space. The vast majority were Asians and most were men in their 20s. I asked one of them what was going on. Driving, he said. It's about driving. When I asked why there were so many, he asked in return, have you heard of Murray Patel. This was nearly 2 years ago. Yesterday in court, 10 in the same building. The first chapter of this case was written when the first 3 individuals were sentenced. In all, 30 people have been tried and 23 convicted as a result of a 4-year Metropolitan Police investigation. It all began with Munir Patel, a youngish clerk working at Redbridge Magistrates Court in East London, was caught by the Sun newspaper in a good old-fashioned sting. No illegal phone hacks, pure public interest. Patel subsequently became the first person in England to be prosecuted under the new Bribery Act. He pleaded guilty. That was in 2011. What might have looked like the end of the case, however, was another beginning, for it takes 2 to make a corrupt deal. And if Patel was taking the money off to the tune, so his trial heard, of at least 100,000, others had to be giving it. All the subsequent cases, including the hearing I had chanced upon, concerned those accused of being giving bribes or of acting as intermediaries, sometimes both. Patel had been using his position as front desk clerk and his knowledge of the system to make people's driving penalties, points, fines, disqualifications disappear. He used various methods to get cases consigned to something called an unscheduled list, which was supposed to be reviewed periodically but actually wasn't. The result was that those cases vanished into the black hole, and the errant drivers, uninsured speed merchants among them, were able to remain on the road with a clean licence. That should be worrying enough in itself, but the sum of what emerged and the ramifications should be highly disturbing to anyone concerned about integrity in public life and social coercion. In Patel's first year in the court's front office clerk, the number of cases on the unscheduled list rose from 84 to more than 2,000, yet no one twigged that anything was amiss. That increase strongly suggests, however, that the 30 brought to trial and the 23 convictions, which include Patel, are the tiniest tip of the very large iceberg. More YouTube shit. This is why I'm on Daily Motion and BitChute. YouTube silences teenage girl with 1 million followers after she blasts LGBT pride. You see, you can have loads of followers and that, but you go against their bullshit, which this LGBT crap is. It's just a way of screwing with a kid's mind, and they ban you. The left has no problem with hiding behind activist teenagers, but will scapegoat a right-wing one if she criticises them. YouTube, Google's sister company, platformed a 14-year-old conservative girl after she made a video criticising Pride Month. Her channel has been completely banned from YouTube. Sop, known on Twitter as Suanugget, has been penalised by YouTube's previous with suspension for a dangerous number of poking fun at lefties' orthodoxy. With approximately 1 million subscribers before she was shut down, she rose to fame for poking fun at topics such as radical Islam, climate change and paedophilia and Hollywood elites. While her channel has been removed, conservative pundits like Blaze TV host Lawrence Chen have reported on its removal, reviewing the content and theorising why it was taken down. Chen featured one clip from Soft's video, Pride and Prejudice, which got her banned. In the video, she commented on the nature of LGBT politics. When you attack the concept of gay pride for what they are doing to children, the left will respond by attacking the critic as someone who hates all gay people. She explained it's morality laundering. They put the indefensible together with the legitimate so that you can't scrutinise it without being called a homophobe. The video then shows you a young boy doing a butt gyrating dance known as twerking at a gay pride event in public. YouTube is run by the same paedophiles that run the rest of the planet. Aye. Eat less meat to save the planet, UNS humanity. Well, if we eat less meat, we'd get rid of most diseases as well. Playing a blinder. Citlan Murray on the Bunwin gangster drama latest series. PM scraps migrant cap to lure top scientists. See, they were always going to let them in. Johnson announces fast-track visa scheme to attract the world's elite engineers and mathematicians. PM wants to show the post-Brexit UK will not close borders in major shift from May's immigration rules. Downing Street understand to be planning for general election on November 1st. Corbyn asked Cabinet Secretary to rule out no-deal Brexit before any vote. Boris Johnson isn't bluffing on no deal. Labour losing 125 members a day. My day was as a cat judge. Women here are for the beer. Pints lose the sexist froth. The Times. Attacks of officers rise as criminals no longer fear the police. Attacks on officers. Don't take us for fools. Top scientist warns PM. Brexit will harm UK research, says Nobel laureate. Of course he did. More than 100 members a day quit Labour Party. And we've got nothing else to put there now, so let's get a picture of some parasites and stick that in, because we want to remind everyone that the parasites, they run the country. Express. Parasites ahoy. Kate and the kids make a splash at yacht race. As Hero PC is slashed in machete attack, PM vows to restore power to police. Boris blitz on violent thugs. The scum. Parasites again. Hero PC tases machete maniac despite being slashed in head. Britain's hardest copper. Mirror. Parasite. Britain young tell PM. End our knife hell. Campaigners demand Johnson implements 12-point plan to make streets safer. Well, I think we know what's causing it, and I think we all know how we can sort it out. Telegraph. Johnson election spending spree. PM refused to rule out November 1 poll as funds are released for police, schools and NHS. A slippery slope. Belter skeleton in cathedral. Air pollution blamed for asthma death rise. I will never see hand luggage on a feminist battleground. Rugby tackles above waist could be banned. More taser for police officers on patrol. Cannabis medicine blocked. And the picture of the parasites again. The Guardian. Corbyn. Johnson plotting abuse of power to force no-deal Brexit. Labour's leader calls on top civil servants to spell out election rules. It would be an anti-democratic and unconstitutional bullshit. Illegal use of Chinese children to make echo. Come together. Fans recreate Beatles Abbey Road photo 50 years on. Metro. Storms blow in across Britain after hottest day. Now it's downpours and 60-mile-an-hour gales and the parasite. Mail. Parasite. Parasite. Church attacks Rooney's gambling firm deal. Star in 8 million storm should think about his young fans, not bank balance, says Bishop. Waste of paper. Someone you know goes to sex parties. Yeah. The paedophiles. It's Corey Streetsky. Ace 40 mins from death. Goth, my killer scorpion terror. Hollywood locks out summer. Machete Hero Cop. Financial Times. Rule of tree. Land use the key to climate. Kraft Heinz tumbles over fresh 1 billion write-down and falling sales. Shares down 40% this year. First half profits halved. Scrutiny as 3G capital struggle. Good, because nobody should be buying any Heinz or Kraft stuff, because it's all shit. Johnson will hold election days after Brexit if no confidence vote succeeds. And finally, Me and you is friends. You smile, I smile. You hurt, I hurt. You cry, I cry. You jump off a bridge, I'm gonna miss you. If you think 7 years of bad luck are too much for breaking a mirror, try breaking a condom. Wife, look at that drunk guy. Husband, who is he? Wife, 10 years back he proposed to me and I rejected him. Husband, oh my God, he's still celebrating.